Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to part two of Temple Maintenance. I welcome you to the waiting room. I am your host, Carly Taylor. I do want to share this really quickly, a couple of things, and you will see me looking down again because notes is the way that I keep myself on track, especially with a topic like this one. You want to be at our National Women's Conference. This year, this one coming 2025. It's going to take place March the 6th, the 7th, and the 8th. And when I tell you that the Lord has placed something in my spirit concerning it that literally just had me all wrapped up yesterday. So I'd known what the theme was for several weeks, but anytime someone would ask me what was the theme scripture, I really didn't have one. There were, I'm a word girl, so it wasn't that at all. But I didn't want to get in my own head because it's easy for us to come up with something, right? And I did my due diligence as far as searching the scriptures, praying about it, and all of those things. But there was really not anything that stood out to me. However, on yesterday, the Almighty downloaded into my spirit what my mandate is for this meeting. And so I have some direction in that regard. And I tell you, it just about wiped me out. So you want to be at our National Women's Conference, March 6th, 7th, and 8th. That is a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And there'll be more information coming out concerning that. So I wanted to say that. Also, I want to say this as well, that any of the information that is given here, I am not a medical doctor, okay? I am not a registered dietitian either. That's why even in these videos, I'm not giving dietary advice beyond some very basic things, right? Some things that would be common to any type of eating plan that you were on, such as things, eating less processed food, cutting out things that are just blatantly crazy, like big gulps, big old cups of soda, okay? This is just a cup of sugar that has no health benefits in it whatsoever. No vitamins, no minerals, no nothing. So pretty much, other than that, I stay away from recommending any particular diet, even though there is one that I have followed most of the time for the past several years, and any of you who are my friends on Facebook would know what that is, but we're not even going to go into that, okay? Because every single lifestyle does not work for every person's body. I myself, I've tried them all. I've even done plant-based at one time, and and this is nothing against it because I know that there are a lot of people that thrive on it who do really well. But for me, it was probably one of the worst things that I have ever done. For my particular body physiology, it did not work. And it was not that I was doing it wrong. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm a person that does research. I don't just jump into doing anything. So I looked at the ways that you need to supplement and, all of those things. So it wasn't that. It just did not work for my body. Okay. So again, you won't hear me recommend a particular diet. I will say find a lifestyle that works for you. So anyway, we're going to get into some practical tips, and this is actually going to wrap up our part two, and then we're going to move on to something else. So we will be right back. I want to say this as well, that we will not be having an episode for the next 2 weeks. The next 2 weeks are falling on holidays. And it's also some vacation time for my sweetie. And we will be spending time together, and I will probably be spending less time on social media for the next couple of weeks. Not that I won't be on it all, but it will definitely be way less as we just kind of focus in and figure out, going into this next calendar year, what that's going to be about. So I'm going to enjoy time with my husband. And so we will be back after the next 2 weeks where we will not have an episode. We will be back with something new. All right, so we're going to get right into it. I'll try not to make this video long. we'll just kind of briefly go through the points here, and I hope you take in the information. Also, I don't know if you, anybody watching now, watch my last video, the end of the video where we gave a challenge concerning giving up soda for a week, and I wanted you to come back and let me know how that was for you. So if you did that, because I had quite a few people that reached out, not necessarily on the post, a lot of people reached out privately, but if you did that, I want to hear your experience. If nothing changed at all, tell me that too, right? So we're just curious. Let us know how you did. Okay, so my first point here is to be a student of your process. One of the worst things that you can do is to be completely dependent on someone else to tell you what you can eat, what kind of, exercises you can do. And some guidance is necessary, especially in the beginning. But we literally have the World Wide Web at our fingertips. Before I began the lifestyle that I started several years ago, as I said in my last video, it's been about 14 years now, I did quite a bit of research first. At least for about a month, I was watching podcasts, I was reading things, I was, reading books and all of those things to figure out exactly what it is that I wanted to do before I got started. When you take that knowledge in yourself, that is something that someone can't take away from you, and you gain confidence in it. I find that it is easier to stick to when you are actually confident in what it is that you are doing. It is hard when you feel like you have to literally call somebody else for every single thing. Can I eat this? Can I, learning how to read labels. I am a label reader. Most of the time now, because I've been at it so long, you can kind of figure what's in what. But getting started, yes, I would stand there and I would turn over whatever it is that I was buying, and I would look at the nutritional labels and see what was what, calories, fat, protein, what kind of vitamins and minerals were in things, how many carbs were in things. And when you take ownership of it, as I said, you tend to walk with more confidence into whatever it is that you're doing. So I suggest that before you take on any program, whatever that is, any lifestyle change, that you do some research first so that you go in feeling empowered, right? And don't feel like for every single thing you need to call and get somebody else's thoughts and opinions. As I always say, you want to check with your doctor before you make any extreme changes. But beyond that, be a student of your own process. Be a student. Don't depend on someone else to hold your hand the entire time. Sometimes it might be necessary in the beginning, right? And that actually brings me to my next point. Even if you start out with someone else, be prepared to continue alone. It is great to have support. It's wonderful to have support, but you got to learn how to press ahead even without it. I started my process. There wasn't anybody else in the house that was doing what I was doing at the time. And so I had to become comfortable with doing what I was doing without support, without help, without, with people thinking what I was doing was strange and everything else. And you have to, as I said, have the confidence that I am doing this for me, whether anyone else understands it or not, right? And so, yeah, support is good. Having an accountability partner, all of that is fine, well and good. I get it. But be prepared that even if you don't have it, if you start out with somebody and you lose it, keep going all by yourself until it becomes second nature. My computer is, I don't know what is happening here. Okay. That actually takes me to my next point, to be prepared and to think ahead. Okay, if you have a certain eating plan, as I said, whether it's Weight Watchers, whether it's low carb, whether you are vegan, whether you are vegetarian, whether you are Mediterranean, whether you are just low calorie, whether you are low fat, whatever it is that you're doing, learn how to be prepared and think ahead. So this is what I do. When I go anywhere, when I'm going to dinner somewhere, when I'm traveling, any of those things, and yes, it does take time, I will scout restaurants, figure out where we're going to. I never made people change plans based on what I was doing. Pretty much any restaurant that we go to, if we were going out with friends, going out with family, there is always something, a way that you can modify or something that you can order on the menu that will fit what it is that you are doing. And I found that most restaurants, especially now, are they will adapt very easily. You can ask them to replace this with that. I remember a time where going and asking for a sandwich in a bowl without a bun was crazy talk. And now there are some places where it's actually on the menu. So it's not uncommon anymore. And most restaurants are willing to accommodate you. If I'm going somewhere or if I am traveling and it does not look like there are going to be options that are going to work for me, I don't have a problem planning ahead of time, purchasing or making things that I can take that will be easy for me to carry and that will fit within my plan. So yes, looking ahead, looking at menus. I remember we went to Taste of Cincinnati, which I love. Wonderful. I got on that website one year, not too long ago. I think it was like maybe last year or the year before. I looked at the different places that they were going to have, the different food trucks, and I charted which ones I was going to go to and which ones had items that fit into the macros that I had for myself, and I stuck to it. So does it take work and diligence? Yes, it does. It takes time, you guys. I got to be honest with you, but it can work. The plan can work if you work it. All right. And my next point is to not underestimate the power of sleep. All right, guys, listen. The benefits of good sleep habits, some of them include improved cognitive function, blood sugar regulation, improved mood, weight management, organ health, immune system health, stress relief, and athletic performance as well. I used to be a night owl years ago, but I've not been that for quite some time. I make sure that I get my sleep in. Matter of fact, one of the books that I read, the Little Book of Self-Care, talking about sleep. It is important, y'all. And one thing about sleep, when you don't get enough of it, it can really mess you up. They actually say that sometimes lack of sleep can almost mimic drunkenness. And I have seen it before. You are very cognitively, when you are tired, when you are exhausted, it can make you mentally susceptible and everything else. So good sleep, it is important, you guys. Sometimes we have to put the phone down. Sometimes we have to turn the Netflix off, okay? Let's just keep it real. There is time to sleep if we make it. Prioritize it. We've got to prioritize it. So sleep is important. Another thing that is important is to hydrate. Most of us on average are made up of 60% water. So a lot of your body is water. Some of the benefits of staying hydrated, again, mimics some of the same things as sleep. It helps your brain function. It helps with digestion. It helps to keep your organs healthy. It helps to regulate your body temperature. It gives you improved energy and weight management as well. So it is important to hydrate, and especially somebody like me who drinks coffee, tea, and things like that can be highly diuretic, which means you can lose a lot of water. So it is important, especially like I said, if you are a coffee drinker, as I am, to make sure that you hydrate. Okay. Also, let's see here. I almost lost my page. Okay. That's going to bring me to my next point, is to just move. Start small, but just move. Okay. I know that a lot of people, for a brief period of time, I had a personal trainer. His name is Dominique Smith. He's awesome. He helped me so much, and I experienced like so much of a change in a very short amount of time. That was some months ago, but enjoyed his training. There's gym memberships, but listen, it does not always take money, right? Because there are some points in time where it may not be feasible financially for that. You don't have to have money to exercise and get in shape. a lot of times I will do videos on YouTube, right? And so you can even type in special circumstances, such as you can put in workouts that are low intensity, workouts that are easy on the knees, workouts that can be done from a chair if you are not mobile, ones that don't involve getting on the floor, right? So you can search for beginner videos, intermediate, or advanced if you're advanced. I did every bit of it. The main thing that I started out doing in the beginning was just walking, right? So before we started doing all the other things, because I ended up doing Zumba, we did HIIT, which is high intensity interval training. I did Tae Bo, we did boot camps. I literally did it all, but I had to work myself up to it because I started out in the beginning not able to do hardly anything. I would walk to the corner and I would be exhausted. My body would be hurting. My feet would be hurting. I would have to sit down. So, starting somewhere, right? But just moving, just moving more, right? And so, some people might say, what if, I don't have time? Several times over the years, I was extremely busy, but you had to make sacrifices where you could. One of the things that I started to do was I started going to bed earlier so that I can wake up earlier. So a lot of times I would do my exercises before I went to work. I had to be at work at 8 o'clock. I would get up at 5, get the devotional time in, get my workout in, and all of those things. You can also fit movement into things you do every day. So for example, if you work or you go shopping in safe neighborhoods, I'm going to specify, you can park further from the location where you are. You can take the stairs. I used to work downtown, and on days where I had things to do in the evenings, I would use half of my lunch to go eat and half of my lunch to walk. And so sometimes you probably would see me out there walking on UK campus. I would get 2 miles in easy on some of those days during my lunch hour. And so that's something that I did not have to do if I had something to do before work or after. I would fit it in during my lunch break. Sometimes on my 10-minute break, I would walk up and down the stairs. So you fit it in where you can, right? And you don't have to always take up time to go to a gym and all of those things. You can do videos right at home. And so yeah, getting up earlier, which means you got to go to bed earlier, which means we got to put the phone down, which means we got to turn the TV off. Sometimes you just have to make those sacrifices, right? And so I know what it is to sacrifice to be busy and still prioritize my personal health as well. As a matter of fact, I saw somebody mention, I think it was Rika Thomas. I meant to reach out to her, but I saw her mention the 75 Hard Challenge. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that. You can Google it. It's a lot of information out there about that. It is very admittedly a hard challenge, and so one that I had to modify and make it personal to me. I did an entire series on YouTube called 60 Days My Way, where I modified the challenge. I'm actually going to link the playlist for those videos below. I did a update video every week for I think it was 8 weeks or so. And so I accomplished that challenge, one that I made up for myself. So it's basically a way that you challenge yourself and push yourself, and I completed it. So I had to do at least an hour of exercise per day. At least half of it had to be done outdoors, right? At least half of it was done outside. You had to pick a particular eating lifestyle and stick to it with no cheats. It required at least 10 pages of nonfiction reading per day. I didn't count the Bible because that was just a part of things anyway, but in addition to, and I'm not typically a self-help type person, but there was some books that were highly helpful to me. I completed a bunch of books. And one of the things about me, I'm the type of person that my reading is really weird. I'll flip to the end, flip to the middle. I was just a highly undisciplined reader. But I said for this challenge, I'm going to read books from cover to cover. I'm not going to put them down until over some days I am done with them. So one of the first books that I read, and I want to show this to you, was this book right here, Atomic Habits. I promise you, everybody, needs to read this book. Look at that. Everybody needs to read this book, Atomic Habits. My goodness. This book was so good. It changed so much in my mind. I read a book on boundaries. I read my sister friend, who is a mental health professional and also an ordained evangelist, The Gospel of Mental Health by Evangelist Stacey McDonald. This book right here was wonderful. I read this book on sleep. I read some other books as well, but I completed quite a bit of books during that challenge as well. So during that 60 days, there was a lot of things that happened. I think there was only one day that I did not complete everything. During that time, my boss at my job passed away. That is chronicled in a small part in my videos as well. And that day that she passed, that evening, I found myself still out on the trail getting my walk in. Yeah, I was crying. My eyes was red and I was in tears and devastated. And I was out on that track getting my walk in. I think the only day that I didn't was the day of her funeral, because I just at that point just wanted to spend the rest of the day just loving on my family and being with my family. So out of that 60 days, that was the only day that I didn't stick to everything. But if you want to catch that playlist, I will link it in the comments so you can check that out. That's going to take me to my next point. Give yourself some grace, okay? This is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's a journey, not a destination, right? And so I want to be very fully transparent and honest with you in saying that I've not been perfect in this since I started all those years ago. And as I always say, and I tell people that this is a lifestyle. It's not a prison. There are times that I go off plan and have all the things. I go off plan and eat what I want to eat. Bottom line. And there are some days when I do not work out. I give myself some grace. I'm not hard on myself where this is concerned. You know, I'm not going to lie to you. But even when I am off or doing something different, it's good to have a plan or strategy on how you plan to come back afterwards. And sometimes it works. Sometimes it takes several tries. Can I be real with y'all? So the bottom line is I have struggled since the holidays. It has been hard because I enjoyed it very much. I ate all the things. We went from a bunch of our church holidays, which are highly festive, and we enjoy a lot of great food. We went to several different events from that point. And so I've struggled some to get myself back on track. And I'm just being honest with you. But that's going to bring me to one of my last points, and that is to don't give up, right? Even when I've struggled, even when I've not just fallen off the wagon, but jump clean off, right? I do not ever quit. I keep trying. I never quit. Even when I get down, I don't stay down. There's no way that I could have had the success that I've had for 14 years of keeping a large part of my weight off if I stayed down every time I fell down, right? So I give myself some grace and I don't give up. Even when I decide to do something different for a period of time and I have a strategy as to how to get back. And even sometimes when my strategy, you know how they used to say, you got a perm, but it didn't take. Sometimes the strategy to get back didn't take. And it took several weeks to finally get back on track. But one thing I will never do, I will never quit. No matter how tough I will never quit. Do you hear me? All right. So I want to say this last, is that you got this. I got this. We got this, right? You can do it. I hope that some of these tips were helpful. This is actually going to end. This is part 2. So this was the end of temple maintenance, at least for my portion. There may be others that we bring on at some point, but for my portion, that's it. If there was something that I did not answer, that I did not address, or personal questions that you have for me regarding my journey, please feel free to reach out. You can either type them in the comments, you can send them in my DMs, or you can email me at carte26@gmail.com. calm. One more thing. This was not in my list. I completely forgot about this. You have to be prepared. And mentioning emails, what made me think of it. You have to be prepared that sometimes there may even be some backlash and people that feel some type of way about it. I think I shared on here before that a few years into my journey, I received an email from an anonymous person. The email where you could trace it was newly created. Someone created an email and they sent me this big long email reading me the riot act. And I mean, telling me, don't nobody care about you getting new exercise clothes. And don't nobody care about, you losing weight and different things. Because at that point, I was sharing my journey on Facebook, right? And I was not doing so, I did not feel, in an arrogant manner, but in a way just to inspire and share with others that it was possible. And like during that time, there were a lot of people who reached out who were appreciative of the fact that I was sharing my journey. And a lot of people started their own journeys as a result of that. But what you have to understand, as with anything that you do, not just with this, is that not everyone is always going to be happy about it. And there may be times where you experience backlash and people saying that you think you're all that, or all of those things. But one thing that I settled in my mind is that I was willing to take the heat. I was willing to take the criticism if it meant that someone else would be inspired. And of course, there's always a way that you can share, which doesn't sound like you're trying to rub things in people's face. I'm not suggesting that you be obnoxious, right? That's not what I'm referring to. I'm not that type of person, and I didn't feel like I was presenting myself that way. But obviously someone took offense to it, and I was highly hurt for a minute. I literally could not believe someone created an email just so they could go off on me. But it happens. As with anything that you do, not everybody's going to be happy about it. So you got to be prepared with that too. But have your success, have it humbly, enjoy your journey. I just want to say that you got this. We got this. I think that is it. Let's see what I got here. Yeah, that is it. We are at the end of this. And again, we will be back on January the 8th with a completely different topic. So I'm praying that you meet me back here in the room. I'm so glad you decided to join me today for part 2 and conclusion of Temple Maintenance. We'll be back January the 8th with a whole new topic of discussion. If you have any suggestions, again, feel free to drop those in the comments. You can send them to me by private message, or you can email me at carte26@gmail.com on January the 8th. Meet me right back here in the room. And as I said in my last video, we do the work so we can do the work. It is truly in Jesus' name we train. Have a blessed day, everybody. Peace.